Tommy Best, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now, here's your host.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle, and catching up with an old acquaintance, Mr. Scott Rose of the band Rikets. What's going on, Scott?
How you been, buddy?
I've been good, man. Been good.
Long time no see.
Yeah, exactly. And I still don't see you, but I watched the latest video, so I'll definitely get into that. But usually when I have people on for the first time, I like to get a quick background, man. So do you remember as a kid what you originally wanted to be when you grew up?
Man, all I've ever wanted to be was a musician, or a lawyer.
Oh, yeah? What were some of your earliest, like, when you were a kid, what was, like, being played around the house? What was some of the earliest music you heard?
A lot of doo-wop, like old 50s and 60s. A lot of Blue Oyster Cult. A lot of Deep Purple. A lot of Alabama. A lot of Waylon Jennings. A lot of Hank Williams Jr.
And what was it that caught your ear that you started taking, like making some of the music your own?
Man, Hank Williams Jr. And believe it or not, like I'm a huge Elvis fan too. And then it kind of got all twisted up. Metal got added into it when I first saw Stryper, and then Stryper opened a huge door to like all kinds of other stuff, like Ozzy. Huge Ozzy fan.
Nice. Did you check out any of that stream this weekend, the farewell?
I did. It's hard to watch, you know what I mean? Because he's doing this for the last time, and meeting him a couple times and hanging out with his kids a couple times. And kind of just like knowing certain things about that whole family, like I'm glad he did that, because you could see it in his eyes, like he's been worked to the bone and just needs time to hang out by himself and let him live his own life instead of doing 90 million things within the entertainment industry, him and his wife.
Yeah, it was tough, man. But you could tell he was having the time of his life up there and getting that out one last time,
Yeah, when he did "Mama, I'm Coming Home," man, that was the moment.
Dude, yeah, that was definitely a tearjerker, man. I remember that came out when I was like in boot camp away, and then so it had a special meaning to me back then, But to watch him do that one last time, man, definitely got you in the feels.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I remember, like, too, you, I know you from Cleveland, but you, as you mentioned, kind of knowing the family a little bit, you did spend some time out in LA. When did you end up out there?
I was actually born and raised out there, and then transplanted to Ohio for a little bit, and then went back. But just fell into the Los Angeles scene, and met a bunch of people there, and just hung out at certain bars, and hung out with certain people. Ended up meeting a lot of people, and it was funny.
So were you getting into the music scene out there before you transplanted here to Cleveland, or?
No, I was just kind of like riding dirt bikes and shit like that. But once I got transplanted to Ohio, that's when, the whole trying to do a band thing, like, kind of got under my skin, and went back and forth to LA a couple different times. Trying to either base a band out of LA or out of Cleveland, and was in a few local bands in Cleveland, and then
Yeah, I remember. I think we crossed paths originally at Peabody's or something, and I forget what band you were playing in before Rikets.
I was in a band called the Bedroom All Stars.
Okay, yeah. Because you guys would do some shows for me back in the day then with the Bedroom All Stars.
Yeah, and then I was in a band called Erase the Gray. But I guess those were the two.
Okay, yeah, I remember those two. I remember one time you guys, Bedroom All Stars, and I don't. Were you with them at the time that played my birthday show at Peabody's the one time? And I think Violent J showed up from ICP, and he wasn't in makeup, but he was like checking you guys out.
Maybe. That was like a drunken flash in the pan, that band.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and my birthday shows, I was usually drunk and flash myself back then. I think I even said something to piss him off, like, "Hey, I didn't know I was going to get a clown for my birthday. Where's your makeup?" And he didn't like that. But
yeah, we had all kinds of weird people hang out with that band. Went and did some demos down at Jesse from Jackal's house. I had left Erase the Gray, and Universal Records was like, we want you to go do another band, and jammed with Bedroom All Stars, and then walked into rehearsal one day, and I was like, I'm going to start a metal band. And everybody in the room was like, can I be in it? And I told them all no. and
then that was at the birth of Rikets then?
And then, yeah, that was the birth of Rikets. And me and Ben Schigel started writing some music. And, the rest is history. It's the band's 20 years old. Working on 21 years old.
Yeah, I so like when Rikets, when you decided to start Rikets, like what was that was kind of like Universal was kind of like backing you then too, or?
Well, when you're on a, I guess it depends what kind of deal you sign. Like in record deals, like they assign like a point person, like somebody that they're going to deal with. And for Race to Gray, I was that guy. Within that, and being part of their management company before I joined the band, I had gotten myself a leaving member provision in the contract to where if anything happened, I had decided to leave. Universal would pick up the first release, pay for the first demos, and have their first shot at like signing it over anything else. It's called a leaving member provision. And so I went through the provision and then did it and recorded some songs, and the guys at Universal were like, wow, this is like pretty damn heavy, and kind of just like hung out and wrote a couple other things. And then we recorded Useless, and I sent it out to a few people, and I had like offers for record deals within like the first like 2 days of like having like the rough mixes of Useless done. And it just kind of snowballed. It wasn't intended to be like a live band. It was intended to just be a pissed off studio thing. Me and Ben were just, having a good time, and it just kind of snowballed into like a live band, and ended up hiring some dudes, to play the record live, and
Yeah, I remember you guys playing Peabodys, but my girlfriend's a EMT firefighter, and I was talking about having to get home for for this interview. So she's curious how the name, how you guys picked the name Rikets.
I was just driving around and thought I wanted something dirty and disgusting, like, and I looked up the disease rickets and I was like, oh, that's pretty gross. I guess that'll stick. Rolled with that. I guess it's better than cancer or AIDS.
And like you were saying, you were just kind of like just making pissed off music with Ben, and it kind of like grew wings, and then you had to put like the live band together. You guys end up like playing Cleveland, but then you went out and didn't you take it back to LA with you too?
Well, what had happened was we had played a couple shows in Cleveland, and like we played at the Odeon and at Peabody's like twice, and like had sold these places out. And through the word of mouth of the industry, like there were labels out there, and especially Warner Brothers wanted to sign something to put up against the Slipknot Mudvayne type thing. And so they had pursued us pretty hard. They spent a bunch of money on us, pre-signing us. And then at the last minute, we had some things go on internally to where there were certain things going on because Rikets was my band. Everybody else was kind of like, along for the ride.
So you were like Trent Reznor with your own 9 Inch Nails.
That's how it's always been in this band.
Yeah.
It's a machine. There's two people that push it, and it's Ben and I. Ben's been my partner since day one. And we've had a rotating cast of players due to unforeseen, unfortunate events, or musically people going different ways.
But when you guys were out, what was who are some of the bands that you guys got to play with?
We did Nothing Faces last tour. The last tour that they did, they took us out. We were direct support for that. We played with Korn, Breaking Benjamin, Hailstorm, Earshot a bunch of times. Five Finger Death Punch, their first show was with us. American Head Charge, Fear Factory. I mean, we've played with a bunch of bands. Korn.
And when was it that like I know that you guys took a hiatus or whatever, or was it something you went to LA or came back to Cleveland or what? Like, help me fill in the blanks.
I just was tired of running in circles, so I put it on hiatus, and I was just fine with it being on hiatus, and I had forgotten about it and didn't even think about it. Was moving in other directions, and a couple different record labels came by and were like, we want you to write another Rikets record, we'll pay you, and so that's where I'm at. You know what I mean? Are we jumping in a bus and touring like crazy? No, we're making new music. We might play some shows, who knows, but
yeah. Now I know I was reading that you enjoy like fishing and stuff like that, like getting outdoors and all that during your time off. Was that like I don't know, is that kind of like part of your just like I'm taking a break, and is that part of like a self-care thing or whatever?
It's just that's like my real life. Like when I'm Scott from Rikets, this character that I've created. And outside of that, like I love being on my boat, and I love fishing, and hanging out with my dogs and being outside.
Awesome. My girlfriend got me back into fishing. She's a big outdoors person, so we've been hitting the metro parks and hitting some of the lakes around here and stuff. But yeah, I get it, because it's just like, dude, we're bombarded with so much noise constantly, and then when you're there fishing, it's just like focuses on the moment, and
yeah.
I love it. We don't get to do enough of that anymore.
No, it's very zen. It brings you back to like who you are. You know what I mean? And you know, I was born, you know, in Northern California and raised on the side of a mountain in Southern California. So I mean,
So you've always been outdoors has been part of your DNA.
yeah, it's like just you could drop me in the fucking woods for a month and I'll come back, you know, with fucking 5 skins and you know 20 pounds heavier. I'm just you know.
Nice. Nice. And then like you were saying, you were kind of just doing Scott, living life, enjoying your dogs and outdoors and everything, and then the labels kind of, you know, when was the seed planted to bring Rikets back and create some new music?
Well, they kind of started like yapping at me like around like 2018, 2019. And they had shown me like streaming numbers. They're like, you stream more than bands that are out like touring. They started like naming certain bands. They're like peers. They're like, you take your cumulative streaming across all of your outlets. Like you stream more than this band that's out there like touring. You stream more than this band. You stream more than this band. So obviously the audience is still there. And I was like, that is crazy how the audience is still there. So, I mean, it's not that I like completely walked away from music. I mean, shit, in that 10 years, I probably wrote like 50, 60 songs. And
Gotcha. That's still part of your DNA as well.
Oh yeah, totally. So with the first thing like we released to kind of like tease people was Misery. And that kind of like was like, oh shit, people were like, oh, that's cool. And then my record label was like, well, I had that recorded in 2015 already. So like they're like, this new stuff, like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make it fucking like stupid. It's not gonna be heavy. It's gonna be very 80s synthwave, you know, inspired. You know, it's not gonna be a heavy record. I'm gonna do it in 2 parts. I'm gonna do one part that's like chill and laid back and like telling the story, and the other part's gonna be heavy. So they pretty much just let me do whatever I want. The records both, you know, I mean, we've got a lot of stuff like backed up for releases and stuff like that, and stuff ready to release as far as like hard copies. But COVID really messed us up. Like, you know, we had started recording a bunch of new stuff, and COVID-19 happened, and it smacked all of us and sent half of us into the hospital. So that put like a huge delay on things.
Yeah, I was going to ask you too. Like during your time, did you go back out to LA, or were you here in Ohio when like you started getting the ball rolling again with Rikets before COVID?
I've actually been between here and Florida. I haven't been out in LA since 2015.
Okay.
You know, phone call works just as well as anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you moved down to Florida, was enjoying life down there for a little bit, and then are you back here? Or are you still in Florida? Are you kind of just visit here to work with Ben, or how's the new Rikets coming together for you?
I'm back in Ohio. We're pretty sparse apart. I live like 3 hours from Ben. BG, my one guitar player, he lives like 2 hours away from me. My bass player, another guitar player, they live like 6 hours away from me. So, I mean, just the logistics of getting us all together.
But thankfully, the way, as much as technology has come, it's like everybody kind of can do their parts from home and, you know, Dropbox it or whatever. And then Ben puts it all together. Right?
They could, but we don't. We set aside time and a budget, and we all go to the studio at the same time. We still do it the old school way. We don't file share to record stuff.
Nice.
You know, anytime we, you know, shoot a video or anything like that, you know, it's, you know, I mean, it's a business. It's ran like a business. You know, there's a budget set aside for each trip, and you stay within it, and even
Yeah,
though we might not be like the biggest metal band, we're still out here kicking it.
yeah. I was going to ask you too. Speaking of videos, I really enjoyed "Infected and Controlled." What was the inspiration behind that song?
COVID. What happened to the world? Where they locked everybody down and they killed people and all this other shit, and you got infected and you got controlled.
All right.
It's
Yeah.
what that it's lashing out at the system. That's kind of like the theme of the first volume of the Tales from the Construct Alpha record. It's just very like chill, yelling at like the system and the ever evolving archons and people that run the matrix and make it move.
Nice. All right. Well, we're on the same page. You're on the right podcast here. I've gotten, I don't know how many episodes banned during that time, actually having doctors on talking about that whole thing we went through,
Yeah.
I mean, I ended up in the hospital too with it, and thankfully, man, I got out, but I never took any of that stuff, and
Yeah,
but
I'm a pure blood.
nice, yeah, me too. But yeah, ended up like me and my mom and my youngest daughter got it the same week, and because of my my last deployment overseas, my lungs have been compromised, so it's like I don't breathe as normally as everybody else, so it hit me the hardest. And I tried fighting it at home and dealing with it, and it was before I got hip to ivermectin and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I ended up having to go to the hospital right after Christmas, and somebody was looking out for me, man, because they even hit me with that remdesivir or whatever, and
Yeah.
read nothing but horrible things about that. So somebody was looking out for me, man, for me to still be here today. But I found a good doctor after that, and they're like, you already had it, you beat it, you got the antibodies. There's no reason why you should get this. As much as they were pushing, I was just like, nope, not doing it.
Yeah.
And here I am. I was at that point, I was like, as much as a music fan as I am too, going to concerts and everything like that, even still at my age, I still love going and seeing live music. But I was like, I made peace with if I was never going to see a live show again, I was cool with that, because I wasn't going to, just so I could go to a concert, go get this, go show my papers,
Yeah.
just wasn't going to happen. But all right, I don't want to become an Alex Jones show here or whatever, but
I love Alex.
yeah, but we're definitely on the same page with that, and we'll have to have you and Ben back for a spin-off episode or something.
Yeah. And people sit there and listen to Ben and I talk about this shit for hours and hours and hours while we're working. They're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I've talked to Ben, since everything too. And so, and then I go get my hair cut by Jim LaMarca, and we're all, of like-minded. So a lot of good conversations happening with people that can still are still capable of critically thinking,
I miss Jimmy. Me and Jimmy used to be the best of friends for many, many years, back before they were signed, and back when I was working for their management company during when they were getting signed to Roadrunner. Me and Jimmy were the best of friends. I miss that guy.
Yeah, he just got married, man.
Did he?
Yeah. But yeah, I go down there and get my hair cut from him, and we catch up all the time. But yeah, I was watching that video, and I enjoyed the video, and I recognized our friend Chloe had a cameo in there too.
Oh yeah, Nick. Her and Nick were friends, and Ben was like, "We need a girl for this scene in this net," and Nick's like, "I know somebody," and she was like, "Okay, I'm down," and came down, and
Yeah, she was perfect for it. But I love that video. But your latest video, Feed, your what's the message behind Feed?
Well, I mean, what is your social media?
It's a feed.
It's a feed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's basically, I'm refilling my coffee machine, not taking a piss. It's basically how everybody is fed through these feeds now, and they can be fed complete bullshit and lies. And it's a very controlling scenario to where, you have like, big business involved in what people are thinking, and everything's become an information war.
Yeah, it's funny too that it's called a feed, because it's like whatever you consume,
Right.
what's they say, garbage in, garbage out. Whatever your mind is consuming, that's where your thinking goes. It's like, what is it, Operation Mockingbird or whatever, MK Ultra on a grand scale.
Exactly. That's what feed is, and knowing that you're being fed lies, you need to break out of that matrix of false information.
And like when the algorithm starts catching on, it keeps sending you more. It's like, oh, you like taking a bite of this? I'm going to send you a full serving of this.
That's right. It influences people thinking. Next thing you know, you got people outside burning shit down.
I know a couple times, man. I get caught up sometimes too, and like especially during COVID, during that uncertainty, man. It was just like we had nothing to do but feed on the internet and everything, and it just I was getting depressed, man. All that negativity, and then you just think that there's no hope, and then finally I was just like, you know what? They want us all in a fear state because we're more easily controlled when we're afraid. We live
in a loosh farm. They're sitting there feeding off loosh.
Yeah.
You can go look at loosh if you don't know what it is. LOOSH. I'm not gonna sit here and explain it, but anybody wants to look that up. That's basically what you live in, is a loosh farm. So
I'll have to look that up. So it's kind of like the Matrix, though, for real. Basically, they're eating. They feed off of us as well, and our fear. And thankfully, it's like I'm 16 years sober now, so I was staying connected, to like Zoom AA and getting some spirituality that I needed to realize, like, hey, man, I have no control over all this outside stuff. So I'm not going to stay and be afraid and keep feeding the machine. I'm going to, I lean towards faith, even if I don't know what it is. There's something else in control, and it ain't me, you know? And when I lean towards faith, life gets a lot better for me, than staying trapped in fear, or else I'm out there looting and burning shit and running like a
fear, man. Never fear anything. The only thing that I fear is God, is the wrath of God. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I fear no man.
But I liked the video too. It gave me like it had like took me back to like some typo negative, I
keep hear people say that, and like people have always just said that like I run this weird like physical appearance of Ozzy and Peter Steele, and I'm like, it's the hair. It's just the hair. You guys are just seeing the hair. I look nothing like these people.
No, for me it was like just the camera work, the black and white and everything though too,
we set up to shoot that shot, and I shot one in black and white, and I'm like, that's it. Everything's gonna be black and white. I'm like, just everything's gonna be black and white, and it was just the simplest little video that we did. It was very easy. It wasn't as involved as Infected. Infected, we had like 4 different cameras, an entire crew, like 5 different like settings.
Yeah, like a movie set, going
like
on there.
Story, you know what I mean? With
yeah,
just wanted something simple and in your face, and try to get the message across. Because like every song has a message, and every record that I write tells a story, whether it's in your face or hidden. You have to find the messages. and
It's like the Easter eggs.
they're all Easter eggs, you know, from Sold Me Out to Sew Your Eyes to Feed to Infect and Control to Anything for the Devil. Anything for the Devil is the biggest reverse Christian song that, like, you know, I'm telling people, don't do this evil, don't do this evil. But then you have all these other people who are like, yeah, throwing up pentagrams and Rikets, it's fucking satanic. Like, no, I'm not. I'm fucking Christian. Like, everybody in my band is a Christian. Before, it wasn't. But everybody that's in my band now, they're my best of friends that I have been for years. I wish this was the lineup that I had had for forever since it started. But everything is misconstrued. You know, Anything for the Devil is saying, don't live this way, don't do these things. You know. And
yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, because I went back. You know, I went down the rabbit hole of old Rikets videos, and you know, saw that you guys worked with Jackie LaPanza on that one.
Yeah, she's the female voice on Anything for the Devil.
Yeah, and then, but yeah, tell me more about the inspiration or the message that you're sending out with that song.
I had lived in Hollywood for quite a while at that time when I had written the lyrics for that song, and just seeing a lot of things, the way that people treat, the way that they want to climb the ladder to fame, and the obsession with money and fame and gluttony and certain vices, and using money as a euphemism for the devil, where these people that want to be celebrities and stuff like that, they'll do anything for the devil, they'll do anything for that money, they'll do anything for that fame. So by me in the bridge, by saying, you know, because I'm the devil, I'm an entertainer myself. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
You know, I'm out here trying to spread my message. You know, a lot of people, you know, either do this for fame or money. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it for either. You know what I mean? I could care less. I don't need the money. Rikets didn't buy my house. Rikets didn't buy my boat. You know what I mean? It's
just an outlet, right? You know,
outlet, and it's an outlet of minds that, you know, all think the same way, and thrives off good friendship, especially now in this era of Rikets. You know, when I talked about putting it all back, I called just about every single person that had been in this band, and I was like, look, I'm going to be putting this back together with a different record deal. Do you want to have something a part of it? Just about everybody that I had called, who I felt that I could work with again, they were like, yeah. And this was during the COVID lockdown. Everybody wanted to send their tracks, and I was like, no, I'm paying for flights, I'm paying for hotels, everybody's coming out. So, you know, there's certain people have run their lives a certain way to where I couldn't have them back in the band. And there were certain people that, like, brought baggage. So I basically, you know, built it again with my best friends, my real life best friends, who I was already writing songs with in a different genre. It was just like, let's go have some fun. Let's make some new songs for Rikets, make some new videos. Apparently there's some people that want to see some new stuff, so we'll try to make those people happy and have a little bit of an outlet.
yeah. Well, I mean, I like what I've seen so far, and now, you know, talking with you too, it's like, yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, you remember me back in the day, what a mess I was. I was doing anything for dollar bill, you know, back then, you know, but after my last deployment, 2008, you know, I had two little girls at home, seen some stuff over there, some people that didn't make it home to their families and stuff. And that was kind of like my seeds were planted over there. I came home, was losing my kids, you know, their mom was leaving, you know, just all kinds of stuff. I hit my bottom, man. And that's when God came into my life, you know? And I mean, I was raised Catholic and stuff like that, the altar boy, all that stuff. But that was like, for me, that relationship was like a dry erase board, You know, it's like as long as I confess to a priest, I erase all my sins, I'm good to go. Let's tack it back up, you know.
Right.
Let's fill the meter again, you know. But you know, this time around, you know, it's like like I said, I got sober, I got saved. 16 years now, no
That's awesome.
drinking.
That's awesome.
You know, and yeah, God's still, you know, every day it's like, you know, I got to get out of the way, and not Bill's will, but God's will, you know. So I love hearing that's what you guys got going on too, you know.
Yeah, it's a very big part of what we got going on.
And you know, I noticed, you know, not to get us spun on another rabbit hole, but it's like it seems like the majority of people that I can talk to that actually like have the blinders off and realize what we're playing with in this world, they're people of faith, you know.
Right.
When you run around aimlessly without it, you know, it's like they live, you know. It's like we got the glasses,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. And you know, I was young and dumb. You know, I had my young and dumb phase. You know what I mean? And when I finally walked away and just spent a lot of my time on an island with my feet in the sand and a fishing pole in the other hand, just thinking and chilling, like I was like, none of this shit matters. Like I don't have anything to prove. Like none of this matters. You know what matters is like being a good person and being happy and making other people happy. And to bring it round forth to that, that's apparently Rikets still makes people happy.
Yeah.
So I was like, well,
it's funny too, because like you said, you picked the name to something vile and disgusting, but it's making people happy now.
yeah, happy. You know.
Now, the album that you're putting together, was it Tales from the Construct Alpha, but A version 1?
Volume 1, yeah.
Volume 1. Do you have a release date for that yet?
Well, see, that's the funny thing that like people in the music business that are not in the music business don't understand that the complete trajectory of bands and releasing things has completely changed. So now it's like gone back to like the late 50s and early 60s to where everybody's releasing singles, single after single after single after single after single, leading up to an album. And that's basically the same formula that we're following, just lengthy, you know, a year or two apart. You have a single and a video, a single and a video, a single and a video. And we have enough material right now for 2 records, like that we could like, you know, spend a week in the studio, finish just like polishing up and like turn it into like whoever. But we're just basically biding the time. Feed is the 3rd single release from this first version of Tales from the Construct Alpha Volume 1. And it'll be the last video installment for this part of the EP. And then we'll release one more single with no video directly after Feed. And then we'll make available like a hard copy, like CD and probably some vinyl and stuff like that. And then shortly after that, run with that for a little bit. And then we'll release the 2nd version, which is a batch of much more heavier songs. It's just putting them both onto like one record just didn't make sense to me. I was like, this is a mood, this is a mood, this is very angry, this is very angry, so I'm just going to split them. And
then a lot of this is some of the songs that you said that you had written during, you know, the time away, finally coming to you know, to life.
Not really, man. Like Misery is the only song that I had tucked away. Everything else, like I just fucking turn on Pro Tools and create a tempo and start with a drum beat, and like me and Ben write songs within like 2 or 3 hours. So like we don't even like plan out songs anymore. We just fucking press record and just rip, and then just be like, okay, this is cool, and just piece it together from that. And then sit there and listen to it, live with it for a little while, and then write some vocals to it. You know, it's not like, you know, you got 5 or 6 guys, you know, like ripping and shredding all different ways. It's, you know, there's there's a focus, there's a key, there's a tempo, there's a certain feel, a certain spectrum of color I want to project with the song. And all that gets decided, and then the song, I call it pulling from the sky. Everything is 100% improv. Like this riff, bah, 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 okay, that's fucking cool. We're gonna stock that away, and then we'll just build the song out. It's very movie editing type ways. You know what I mean? Everything, like we record everything and then edit together, and then once everything, we have a roadmap. Then we'll go and re-record it and make everything, how it's supposed to be, as far as like that human feel.
Gotcha.
But everything is planned out, with a tempo, a color, and a drum beat before the song's even finalized.
Gotcha. Now, when like you start like working on releasing singles for Volume 2, is there like talk about you guys playing out live any of these songs?
I've talked to a couple different markets, like our strong markets that we've always been good in, like Oklahoma, Los Angeles, Illinois, Michigan, Ohio. I've talked to a couple different people about doing maybe some one-offs, and we've had a lot of different like talks from a lot of like bigger bands that were like, "Come on, we'll take you out. Come on, we'll take you out. We're going to do a month," and just the way that this band is structured, it's not cheap to run. Our bus doesn't run on, $500 a day, and unfortunately, it's just like the fiscal value of what's going on in the music business right now with baby bands just doesn't make sense for us to be going out, touring, and just going into debt for no reason. So, once the right tour comes along with the right batch of friends, we'll go, but we're not gonna, it's not a focus right now as far as us playing live. You know what I mean?
Well, has there been any thought about doing any of these festivals? Like, Chimera came back originally for Incarceration here. Like 216 is playing this year. I heard they reached out to Switched at one point too.
Yeah, they did. And not to say we're not in talks with some of these festivals. But that's kind of the route that we're going to go. Starting maybe next year, we might do.
Yeah, I could see you guys at Inc. next year for sure.
I guess there's some people talking about it. I don't know anything. I'm not the person that's involved with it. If Dan Jansen wants to give me a call and work it out, I'm down with that,
Yeah, we pretty much. I think we were at the Mastodon Lamb of God show last summer when the 216 deal was made over a handshake and a conversation with Dan. So
yeah, Dan's a cool guy. He's been around.
Yeah. So I could see him and Terry or whatever, working something out with you guys. Be cool.
Yeah, I've known Terry since before he was even in the music business. Like his little brother was one of my like old like running mates, like party friends.
Timmy Taco.
Yep, Timmy Coughlin.
I used to have Basement Love Underground do a bunch of shows for me back in the day too, so
Excess LSD.
Yeah. But all right, well, cool, man. Hopefully, we'll see something next year, live. But in the meantime, just where should fans go if they want to? If there's any fans out there watching the show that may be new to hearing about Rikets, where would you send them to check it out?
Right to YouTube, man. Just go right to our YouTube channel, and then riketsofficial.com has everything linked on it as far as like where you can stream and watch videos and read the history and stuff like that. There's a lot of, folklore surrounding this band, and all it takes is a couple of good conversations and
Yeah.
smarts to understand like what this band is, where it's going, and like you said, it's a very Nine Inch Nails type camp, and me and Ben have a vision for how this band should sound, and everybody else goes along with it. And thank God I got people in my band that trust that vision, and they've watched it grow since. These dudes have been friends of mine since before Rikets even was. So like they know what it is, they know how it works, and we're just in a position now to where we're peeking our head out from underneath the rocks and see if we want to go out and play ball.
Yeah. Hey, well, I want to ask you a couple of questions I normally ask my guests that I have on here before we get ready to wrap up. What class, and this should be good because we've had some good conversation so far. What class do you feel should be mandatory before graduating high school today?
Woodshop.
Bring back woodshop.
Bring back woodshop, because it's not just about creating things in the woodshop. There was a certain hierarchy that was created in the woodshop, and it extended through the whole school. And just, I think kids nowadays, I don't have any kids, but I just reach around and I'm like, man, look around, and kids are like either really fucking bad or like really big pussies. And woodshop, you had a problem with somebody, you took it out in the fucking woodshop, back in my school.
Yeah. No, I remember that same thing.
They need to bring they need to bring back home economics. Teach these people how to fucking balance a checkbook.
Yeah, man, that's like the number one answer I get usually on here is like, some sort of finance thing. It's like they teach you how to spend, but they don't teach you how to save or invest and grow wealth. They don't want you to know that.
Rockefeller education. Rockefellers aren't teaching you how to go out and make and be your own boss. They're teaching you how to be worker bees.
Yep.
And some of the most best-mannered children and best well-developed children I've ever seen mentally have been the homeschooled ones. And most polite kids I've ever met have been homeschooled ones. So I'm a big proponent for homeschooling.
And going back to like what you said with woodshop too, it's like, working with your hands, actually creating something. It's like if we get hit with an EMP, or whatever, and all the electronics are out, all the iPhones are out, these kids wouldn't know what to do today.
They'd be screwed.
Yeah. So it's just like
how to go in the woods and start a fire.
Yep. So yeah, man. And then who are three people who've inspired you and you could credit for making you the person you are today?
Matt Holt from Nothing Face. Vinnie Paul from Pantera. And I don't know, that's a hard one.
Yeah, the third one's usually the toughest.
Lee Majors.
Way out. Who?
Lee Majors.
$6 Million Man?
The Fall Guy.
Oh, the Fall Guy. All right, that version. All right. Nice.
Yeah.
And then
he was a tough son of a bitch.
Yeah, he was. And then favorite toy as a child?
Hot Wheels.
Nice.
Fucking Hot Wheels, man.
And then any message that you have for our military members currently serving overseas?
I come from a military family. thank you for your service. Thank you for everything you do. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have a home that is well protected by the armed services, every branch, from the Army to the Air Force to the Navy, to the Marines to Space Force. Thank you.
Awesome. Scott, man, it was good catching up with you, man. I would like to hopefully, whenever you guys come up and work with Ben, maybe we can like connect in real time.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Awesome, dude. Well, good talking with you, man.
You too.
Take care.
Have a good night.
All right, you too.
See you.
Alright! Listen up! Hold on to your seats! Grab your girls, grab your beers!
What's going on? It's Tommy Beck, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.